come on out and work out with me. Most rookies would go out there, and before they finished the workout, they would puke because they couldn't keep up with him, even when Jerry was 40 years old, because of what his regimen. One time he was asked, why, Jerry, by a rookie, why do you still do these workouts? You're one of the greatest that's ever played the game. He said, that's how I became the best. I work out. I do the same things that I do each and every time. And it doesn't matter if I've made it or not. I keep doing them each and every day because he's a true pro. So if we want to become a pro in our productivity, we have to make changes in our life. So to me, pro stands for three things. The P is for peak productivity time. The R is for recovery time. And the O is for office time. So here's how the peak productivity time works. It's 60 to 90 minutes at uninterrupted time doing your most productive work. For each one of us, it's different. But for me, it's writing blogs, scripting out things, and making my sales calls. That is most important to me. In other businesses, it's whatever your most critical item is in your business. That's your peak productivity time. And that's the only thing you do. And you block that on your schedule. And you keep it where it's sacred. And you work through that. If it's a project you're working on. Okay, you may say 90 minutes won't allow me to finish. You may be correct there. But the thing is, you can take that 60 to 90 minutes and then create another block time. So you find those peak productivity times. I would have never wrote that book if I didn't have peak productivity time, because I can find a lot of other things to do than sit there and just write. You have to get into a zone to be able to write. You have to get in a zone if you're doing your peak productivity time, if you're putting out those things. So what is your zone that you need to be in that's most important to you? Now the second one is that recovery time. That's truly enjoying our friends and family. Where you truly enjoy them. With no email. I know that's hard to believe, but no email. Do you know 54% of people still check email when they're on vacation? 54% is the latest stat out of 2016 of people that check email even when they're still on vacation. Recovery time is truly enjoying your friends and family, getting a break away from the things that you need to do. And for some of it, that may be recovery time of social media. If we need to have that time, taking 24 hours away from it and truly getting recovery and allowing you to enjoy the things that you do. Now, the last area is the O, and that's office time. And office time is about setting up your peak productivity time. It's cleaning up your email. It's doing your daily tasks, having your staff meetings, all the things that you would do in business that you need to do, you still set up in office time. The only thing it's very similar to peak productivity time is you schedule that time. So whatever time that is in a day, if you need to clean up email or look at your email, do it 3 times a day, but have it scheduled in your office time. And when you set up those time blocks, what you start to do is you start to become a pro in managing your time and taking that time back versus just allowing every day to seem like the same. So we've talked about energy. Energy is about our exercise and our productivity. The second area I want to talk to you about is connections. Connections is all about our relationships. And in our relationships, we are a giver or a taker in those relationships. So what I want you to think about, who in your life are some of those relationships that's most important to you? But I want to share a story with you of a good friend of mine. I'll never forget, March 10, 2014, I get a call from my golf partner, Keith. And he let me know that his dad had passed away the day before. I didn't realize that Lawrence was that sick, but I didn't really realize, but I told Keith I was sorry for his family and I would see him at the funeral, but I was praying for him and his family. As I was driving to the visitation, I was trying to think of the right words that I would say to Keith that would really help him feel better about the situation and the love that he had for his dad. As I seen Keith at the funeral home, I gave him a big hug. Keith gave me a hug and he said, "Gary, I'm going to miss my dad." I told Keith, "I know. I'm going to miss him too." Because you see, Keith, when we were playing unified golf together with Special Olympics, Lawrence would bring him to the course. And if I wasn't available, Lawrence would play for me. And Keith and I would always have a good time on the course, but I got to know Lawrence pretty well. And Lawrence taught me some life lessons on how to truly care for his family and truly care for the people that are important to you. So that night when we left the course, I don't know if I had the right words, but I felt that peace of knowing that Keith felt the presence of that relationship that him and I had together. Well, about a month later, I go to the after church, and Keith normally waits for me after church and always comes up and talks to me. And he says, "Gary, you ready to play golf?" And of course, Keith's ready to play golf just about any time. He'd probably played today if you would have let him. Okay? So he's ready to play anytime. I said, "Sure, partner, I'm ready to play golf." He goes, "We're going to win a gold medal." Well, Keith loved to win gold medals. So every year, for 12 years, I've heard him say, "We've got to win a gold medal." So I said, "Sure, Keith, we're going to win a gold medal." He says, "No, Gary, you don't understand. We're going to win a gold medal this year for my dad." Wow! Well, I felt like a ton of bricks just kind of carried on my back right there. But I said, "Keith, we'll give it our best shot." But Keith does know how to get people to show up for practice. That year, I think I had my best attendance at the sessions for practicing because I wanted to win that gold medal for that goal that Keith had of winning it for his dad. I'll never forget, I'm driving up to Columbia to the regional tourney, and we just closed one of our businesses, and we're moving furniture and packing all day, and I was beat tired. But I get up there, and Keith's ready to go, and he says, "Gary, you ready to win that gold medal?" And I said, "Sure, Keith." He says, "You know why?" And I said, "Yes, I know, Keith. We're going to win that gold medal for your dad." We got to that first hole, and I told Keith, "Let's say a little prayer and ask your dad to be our guardian angel today." We go out, and we're playing a pretty good round. Keith always asks, "What's our score? What's our score?" He always wants to know what the score is. I always tell him, "We're doing great, we're doing great," because you never know who you're competing against. So you don't know if your score is good or not. And we're playing in unified golf, so it's the bet. I shoot a shot, and then he shoots a shot. And we practice that, and we go back and forth each and every time. So we're sharing that back and forth. Well, we get done with the round. We get up there, and the round is completed, and you're set up in divisions. So you're not sure exactly whose division you are. They call us up, though. And they call us, if you remember, Keith, they called us, and they put us right in the center. Well, I knew that meant we had won the gold. But Keith wasn't sure yet because he kept asking me, "Gary, did we win? Did we win?" And I said, "I don't know. We'll have to wait and see." They named the bronze medalist. Then they named the silver medalist. And then I'll never forget this moment as long as I live. They name our names for the gold medalist. Keith looks up and said, "Dad, that's for you," and makes the sign of the cross. It's a moment I'll never forget as long as I live. We come off the stage, and Keith says, "You know what that means, Gary?" "I do, Keith." "We got to go to state," he says. "You know what now? I want to win a gold medal for Dad at state." Keith lets you really enjoy the fruits of your labor a long time, right? I'm thinking, wow, yes, we're going to give it our best shot, partner. We'll go for that gold medal at state. Well, we practice another month. We go off to state. State happens to be right here in Jefferson City, Missouri. And we go out there, and we play our first, I get a call the day before. And the day before I get this call, and it's a reporter by the name of Nick. And Nick says, hey, I heard there's a story that you're playing for a gold medal, your athlete is, for his dad to win a gold medal for him at state. I'm like, yes, that's correct. And he said, we'd like to do a story on that. I'm like, great, that would be wonderful. I would love to have a video guy following me around everywhere I go and taking pictures of my beautiful shots. Sure, let's do that. No, I said yes right away, and I said there's only one condition. You make sure this story is about Keith and his quest to win gold for his dad. So Nick comes out to the course next day, does a few interviews with us. We get ready to start off. We start off. The first 2 holes don't go really like we have anticipated our plan. So I finally tell Keith at the 3rd hole, okay, Keith, we've got to just calm down. Let's say a little prayer here. Let's have fun, and let's just play a good round of golf. But you do have to realize it was a cold, wet, and windy and dreary day. So it was a nasty day. We go through hole 3, 4, 5, playing okay. We get to hole 6, and I would call it what I would call a blow-up. Because in unified golf, the most you can get is 10. We get a 10 on that hole. And I think that really kind of blows our chances for having that gold, doing what we really wanted. We're driving to hole number 7, and the air horn goes off, and they're calling us into the clubhouse because it was raining so hard. And I was like, it's about time. But really, it wasn't the time now because we needed to play some more after just getting a 10. But we get called into the clubhouse. We sit there and wait for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and they decide to finally call it. But during that time, Nick comes up to me and he says, he's talking and making general conversation, and he says, man, it'd sure be good if you all win the gold medal. It'd make a great story. I looked Nick straight in the eye and I said, Nick, if I was you, I'd get a new storyline, buddy. We better find something new. So they've decided to call the round, and they call us, and we couldn't go anywhere because the clubhouse was so full. So they had people just stand where they were, and they called out the divisions. Our division was up, and I knew who was in that because I looked up on the board. So I seen our division. When we got called, I was pleasantly surprised when we weren't called for the bronze. And then they called the silver medalist, and it wasn't us either. And then they say, the gold medalist today, playing in honor of his dad, Keith Lookenoff, and his golf partner Gary, winning the gold medal. Keith comes up to me, gives me a big hug, and says, Gary, I think my dad would be proud of me. I said, Keith, I know your dad is, and I think he was our angel today out on the course, my friend. And what a great pleasure it was. Because I really think what happened that day is God decided to let one of his angels help one of his earthly angels shine brightly that day. So I want you to think about your relationships. I want you to think of your top 5 personal relationships and top 5 professional relationships. Are you a giver or taker in those relationships? And I believe you can be some of both. Because a giver is a person that gives of themselves, but sometimes we take from our relationships things that we need to take from the others. So what are you in those relationships? I want you to think about that for a minute, and I want you to share with someone next to you 3 things about yourself that is different. And whatever you think it is, but I'm going to give you an example. Like I'll give you an example. My son Chris is in Columbia, South America right now in Rotary Exchange. I have written 3 books now, and I love to snow ski. I want you to share with someone next to you 3 things that they may not know about you. Go ahead and share for a minute. Share. Okay, hopefully you found out something about that other person, maybe something you didn't know, because I hear some pretty good laughs out there, so that's good, but something that you find out about that person. I believe you can be a giver and taker in your relationships because that's what we're allowed to do. I read an article in Guidepost magazine that talked about Danny Thomas, the founder of St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And he says you can be a giver and a taker. But his belief is that takers may eat better, but the givers sleep better. So think about that. How can we give in our relationships? What can we do? What's that action that you can do